Well, I guess we have nothing left then to do but to talk about SmackDown in preparation for the big Extreme Rules showdown that we mentioned earlier we will end the program with after a short break. You'll never know we were away, folks, but SmackDown on Friday. Last week, we thought the show was good, right? I remember having a favorable impression of much of it, better than normal. I mitigate these compliments because I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. But this week was a lot of ado about not very much, in my opinion. Triple H started the show, and you can tell that. I know they cheered. They had a reaction when Vince came out. The fans I'm talking about in the arenas when he would come out on television. But do you think that Triple H is getting a little bit more of a beloved response rather than a, wow, it's Vince, the evil man himself kind of response?
Yeah, I think it's also important that they haven't, since the transition away from Vince, they haven't really had a heel authority figure. And that's important. They should keep doing that. So when you do see someone like Triple H, it'll be interesting the next time Stephanie's out there. If they're treated seriously, people are open to hearing them. The other thing is, and I know he went through a lot, but this is the first time you saw Triple H and he kind of looked like an old man. You know, he kind of looked, I don't know what the word, not sickly, but.
Well, no, he's lost weight and one should because he's older, he's had heart issues, needs to drop weight, and he's not in competition anymore. But there was here was the guy with the long flowing locks that looked like Thor. If they were ever going to do a Thor movie, they missed their chance. I know they've got some yahoo now that's going to be Thor, but no, Triple H was Thor.
Well, the Thor in the movies is pretty awesome. He's better than Triple H ever could have been.
Well, but the Triple H looked like Thor, though.
Well, Chris Hemsworth ended up looking kind of like Thor.
All right. Well, don't get Thor.
I like those Avengers movies. You'd love them, too, if you gave him a chance.
Did you hear about the day after all the Norse gods got together and had a big orgy? Did you hear about that?
Who was Thor?
They partied all night. They fucked all the women there in Asgard. And then the next day, Thor woke up and he was next to this beautiful naked woman. And he looked at her and he said, "Hi, I'm Thor." And she said, "You're Thor. I'm so Thor I can hardly pith."
Horrible.
But anyway.
And this is SmackDown, ladies and gentlemen.
This is SmackDown. It's going to get worse from here. But he welcomed us to the season premiere of SmackDown, Triple H did. When everything is finished, that is the beginning. And then he got the fuck out of there. You know, he did the Costanza thing. I got over and got out. But the fans, they want to, and they're going to be done. I think they're smart enough to realize no more heel authority figures in the WWE. That day is over because they need the fans to like their company, not just their wrestlers. All right, so the first segment, they bring out the stars. Here comes Roman and the Bloodline, and they are over. And again, we don't need to say what we say every week, but Heyman's expressions are priceless. Sami Zayn is a scene stealer. And Roman does the acknowledge me, and then here comes the Logan Paul music. And then I'm thinking, this early? And the one thing is, Logan Paul comes in 6-on-1. And obviously, the Bloodline played it off like they're not going to attack him and everything, but it seemed awfully brave on his part. But nevertheless, Heyman cuts promo, and he promos everybody. And I've heard the name, who is Ben Shapiro? And why is Paul Heyman saying that Ben Shapiro couldn't kick Roman Reigns' ass?
Is that what he said? Didn't hear that
he's
promo.
talking about all the people that Logan Paul steps up to challenge Roman Reigns. Not a lot of other people didn't. Andrew Tate, whoever the fuck Andrew Tate is. He's talking about Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate and everybody.
He's naming podcasts. I mean, Ben Shapiro is a major conservative podcaster. So, I mean, I'm guessing, and Logan Paul's a major podcaster, so I'm guessing he's just naming podcasters.
Okay, well, none of those people have the balls to fight Roman Reigns, but Logan Paul does. And finally, when Logan Paul starts answering back, he gets whatted bad. And they don't what Heyman. They're smart enough not to, because you never know what might come back at you from Heyman.
He's smart enough to stop it, too.
Well, yeah, the Sean Waltman rule about me works on Paul Heyman, too. Do not engage verbally. And so he's getting whatted, and then he starts arguing with Jey Uso, and Sami interrupted to bring it back in and got massive cheers. They have made Sami Zayn an incredible babyface with this thing. So everybody spoke well in this promo where they're talking about the match between them and Saudi Arabia, but absolutely nothing happened. They talked to each other, and then they all left, and we were 20 minutes into the show. So, you know, I'm not saying it was better than a lot of bad matches they have just to get to hear Heyman and Sami talk and, you know, see the bloodline, but...
They're wasting that match on Saudi Arabia.
Well, now, here when they first announced it, I said, well, they don't have to sell tickets on it. The Saudi Arabia show is sold. It's like a giant $50 million county fair show. So they don't need to waste a marquee match like Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar or whatever. But now are you saying that maybe at this point they are so bereft of money matches, there is such a dearth of money drawing talent that Logan Paul and Roman Reigns may be a money drawing match?
I think if built up right, it could be, certainly. Logan Paul's as big a star there as any of the people they have.
Then they are shitting the bed, aren't they, giving it to the Saudi Arabians? Those and Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. Anyway, so then they obviously have to follow up with the bloodline being involved in a match coming out of that interview, and the match they picked was Ricochet versus Solo Sikoa, which Solo won, obviously, because they're pushing him. And we're 35 minutes into the show. And we've seen one match and most of the same people. And then we go back to Roman Reigns' locker room, where Jey and Sami are arguing, and Roman Reigns takes Sami Zayn's side on Jey being a hothead, but now he tells Sami, so that means he's your problem. He's been our problem all our life, now he's your problem. And then they come back from the break, and Sami and the Usos are in the hallway arguing with each other when they come upon the New Day, and they start arguing with them. But none of these people are, well, the bloodline amongst themselves are arguing like they're mad and they don't like each other. But the New Day, it's all just ha-ha. It's all like the same thing. They run into people in the hallway and they exchange scripted, allegedly smart-ass remarks that nobody would really say. And then, stop me if you want to jump in anywhere, Brian, but I'm just trying to hit the high points on this because there weren't that many.
Yeah, good luck.
So then Skid Row comes to the ring. And they are, Death Row. Or
Hit Row.
Hit Row. Jump back, gotta kiss myself one time. Oh. So they come to the ring and they haven't even finished their entrance when they are attacked by three men in suits and lucha masks. And son of a gun, wouldn't you know who won the pony? It's the Lucha Suits group from NXT. But now they have Zelina Vega with them.
Didn't they have a different woman with them in NXT? They had a different one of the women in NXT with them, I think.
And Zelina didn't used to be blonde either.
Oh, she's blonde now?
She's blonde now.
I didn't watch this segment.
You didn't watch that? Well, yeah, she's blonde now. And Top Dollar looked like a fucking beached whale within this beatdown. It was sloppy and blah. And I guess now poor old Andre needs to stay in AEW because his spot has been taken. He's the lucha guy that wears a suit. But now they got three more of them over here.
If I was Tony Khan, this is the stuff I would look to as a way to fight WWE in the future. Triple H is bringing up all the last batch of NXT people, minus Michael Cole, minus Adam Cole and Keith Lee. And I guess, where's Dijakovic? I don't even know. But look at this. I mean, I don't think all these people should be on the main roster. The whole show, though. It was Shotzi Blackheart, the legends of the Phantasma brothers. The whole show is now starting to be filled up with the NXT batch. Karrion Kross. I don't know if, we'll see how they push everyone and try to do everything, but none of these people were particularly impressive to me in NXT, and now they're all filling up this show.
So you're thinking a lot of new faces, but the numbers people won't be able to see the forest for the trees.
A lot of new faces, but are any of them new faces that showed an ability in NXT to get people really invested in them?
I can't believe I know now apparently why that Vince decided to fire the row crowd, because apparently they got rid of the girl first, B-Fab, as the way I recall. They gave her notice.
And she's the only one who looks like a star out of all of them.
Well, but the thing is, I don't think we've seen her work, and if we have, we haven't seen it much, and she looks a little awkward kind of walking around.
Oh, no. She's fine. She's fine.
But then Top Dollar, old AJ from Most Wanted Treasures, apparently the story was he went to Vince and just told him why he made a mistake, and they said, fine, and we'll fire all of you. And the one that escaped and is still over on the other side is Swerve, but Top Dollar, Jesus H. Christ, first they were rapping on the way to the ring, now they won't let them rap anymore. Apparently they realized that was not a thing they should be doing. Top Dollar looks like a late 30s fucking fat mechanic that dresses like a hip-hop guy and wallers around in the ring like a beached whale. And I don't know, apparently Triple H liked him as a group and brought him back and is trying to push him, but oh boy. And this beatdown was sloppy as shit to begin with. So we got that going for us.
You see why they wanted to get Swerve back, don't you?
Yes, because out of the whole bunch, he's the one I'd pick. So then they had a tag team match with Cruella DeVille and Xia Li against Shotzi with her tank and Raquel Gonzalez Rodriguez de la Mascaras. And then they followed that with a package on Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan, all the stupid stuff that they did trying to get Liv Morgan over in a fruitless attempt. And we were an hour into the show after all of that. And then here we go. We're going to juice up Extreme Rules, right? Karrion Kross and Scarlett make their entrance. They're in the black and white treated video. They got the music, fall and pray, fall and pray. Just as it turns into color and they're in the ring, Drew McIntyre appears from behind Karrion Kross. Didn't we just see this? People attacked on their entrance. In the previous segment, they attacked the people on their entrance.
Well, while security were being yelled at for that, it happened again because they were distracted.
Well, no, because they didn't have security before when they got attacked on their entrance. But now they got security, so security showed up late and should be fine. But McIntyre jumps on Karrion Kross and puts the strap on him. Again, like they did last week in their impromptu thing when the fireball fucking fizzled. But here comes security in, and I was about to say, okay, they're listening. These guys looked like security. They were big old boys. They didn't look like fucking phony-ass scared indie I'm sure they're still indie wrestlers, but they looked halfway legitimate. And it wasn't that they were just running toward Drew McIntyre to take an awkward bump and then disappear. They were all on him, trying at least to hold him. He headbutted one, he elbows another. He's fighting them like a man would in a bar fighting security. And then when he's dispatched all of them, Kross uses the strap to pull McIntyre into the post, which that'd be fine. Except he then did it about another 6 or 8 times at various points. And Karrion Kross hadn't had a lot of experience with strap matches. I know the strap was long. They've advertised a 14-foot long strap, and that's very long. The ones that I used to see Wahoo use, the ones that we used in Crockett or Smoky Mountain or whatever, usually 8 feet, maybe 10 feet. Point I'm making is Kross was just pulling the strap without cinching up on it and really giving it the heave for a 275-pound man to fly into the ring post. And then he did that 6 or 7 times more, like I said, to show the people exactly how they could see through it. And he's whipping McIntyre, and he's whipping the shit out of him, but he needed work on immobilizing him. He'd pull him into the post, then McIntyre would lean there, and then he'd whip him. If you pull the guy and the guy's arm has got the strap on it, then when you pull his arm through the fucking buckle, you can wrap a little bit of that strap around it where there's some visual semblance of the guy being immobilized, and then use the rest of it to whip. It's just little things. But the biggest part was after Drew dispatched security, this thing went on, and you could vaguely see in the background a guy's foot still laying there. They were still selling. So they had security on the scene, and it looked okay for what they did. But then once that Drew had beat him up for carrying Cross to beat him up, they had to stay down too long because the heat went on too long. Because Cross kept trying to put McIntyre in the right place and blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't a bad angle. It could have been better with somebody that had more experience in strap or chain matches. At least they're trying with the security. I give it a thumb partially up. What do you think?
Partially up. We'll see where they go. They're trying to do something with Karrion Kross. Drew McIntyre has been bungled booking-wise for a while. Let's see what happens.
Well, and then we had a 6-man tag, and I know you're not going to believe this, Brian, but guess who was in a 6-man tag? Well, you saw, but the Usos and Sam, another Bloodline match against the New Day and Braun Strowman. And I got to be honest with you on this one, I kind of zoned out, and then I got distracted. I'm loving Sammy, whatever he does. Strowman, he needs to be like Andre. See him once every 6 weeks or 8 weeks wrestle or whatever on TV, maybe. Yeah. Make it, sparing.
I agree. Book him like Andre or FTR.
Yeah, yeah, where you barely ever see him, and that way you know. But anyway, Strowman has fire when he makes his comeback. I'll say that for him. But he's sloppy as shit. Maybe some of it is he's so big and heavy that he doesn't want to really hurt or crush anybody. But his shit looks kind of And he did the thing where he ran around the ring, choo-choo, and tackled Sammy and Jay over the announce desk onto Michael Cole. I know you enjoyed that part of it. And then the New Day beat Jimmy with a double team move, 1, 2, 3. So there was lots of bleeping of the Usos language on the floor, but, here, New Day and Braun Strowman, first time they've ever been a team, and they beat the top heel group that they're trying to get heat on Roman. I don't know what. I guess everybody just has to win sometime in this world.
I'm not a fan of the New Day, so I didn't watch.
We both appreciate the fact that apparently they're willing to admit when they make mistakes, because they didn't give hardly any time to this. This was a 30-second backstage deal, but at least for us completionists who demand things be explained, Max Dupree, they go to the back, and there's Max Dupree standing over Mansoor and Mansoor. He's already beat him up. They didn't even have time for us to see him beat him up, and he's telling the girl, basically, fuck this shit. You guys have screwed this whole thing up. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I'm L.A. Knight, and walks off. So now this garbage gimmick will be forgotten. Why it was ever done in the first place apparently comes down to Vince being out of his mind. But they've realized and corrected a mistake in the way that one of their talents was being presented, detrimental to everything, his career, our enjoyment, television program, and they corrected it. Calling Tony Khan. So at least that we got L.A. Knight back. See what they do with him from here, but at least we don't have to worry about the titillation of our creamiest pleasures or whatever.
What?
Well, that's what they were saying. What was it? The guilty pleasures, creamy pleasures.
Who's saying this?
Garlic pleasure. That was the Maximum Male Model's motto. We titillate the juices of your guilty pleasures.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And finally, the match we all waited for, Gunther versus Sheamus. The rematch of their Donnybrook at the pay-per-view. And this wasn't as good because it was interrupted with commercials and it was a TV match and they weren't over there on the pay-per-view and in front of that rousing crowd of 60-something thousand. But as far as, I mean, Sheamus tries. He's not a smooth worker, but he's tough and he's laying his shit in and he's trying. And Gunther is one of the 5 best talents in the industry today of any company. And this was at least a serious slobber knocker of a wrestling match. And, I get the WWE crowd reacts to serious shit that, people are laying shit in and not, doing flips and not fighting with furniture. When they see it, they react to it and they like it. They just don't get the chance to see it often enough. But, the problem with this match was only that it was on television. They start out with a fight. They go out to the floor and they're to the break within 60 seconds after the bell. So you can't really get your mind in it without the interruptions. You want to talk about the White Rabbit thing for a second?
Okay.
They did the more of the White Rabbit shit in this first break, where the video game music and the rabbit goes down in a hole. And I haven't seen almost any of this because I skipped the commercials and I skipped the shit that doesn't look like wrestling. So I haven't seen any of that. I've heard some of it, including, what do they call those codes that you scan with your phone?
A QR code?
Help, a QR code. Thank you. I knew you'd help me eventually. The first time I saw one of those, I was in Ring of Honor back in 2011, and I was proofing one of the advertising posters. I said, well, the printer left this big goddamn black and white blotch in a square down here. Is that supposed to be a picture? They said, oh, no, you can scan it with your phone and it does something. So I know for folks of our age group, ladies and gentlemen out there, well, gentlemen, I don't know about any ladies, that may sound stupid, but kids actually do shit like this these days. But that's where they've been giving all the cues out and everything, and apparently the fans will probably riot and set the seats on fire if the White Rabbit is not revealed to be Bray Wyatt on Extreme Rules later tonight that we're going to talk about at the end of this program, right? And that's the way they've been promoting his return, where you have to go out and you have to solve the mystery. It's like a scavenger hunt. You got to track down all the clues they're using the technology to give you. Which basically means that people have to work to find out and solve the fucking mystery. Used to, we advertised shit right out in front of them in plain language that we wanted them to know, that we thought might enable them to spend some money with us. But now they're giving the fans homework to do to determine whether they want to see the show. You're younger than I am. Is this a good marketing strategy, ploy, whatever? Do the kids get into this kind of thing?
I think they do. I think it's gotten everyone talking and buzzing and guessing. People are probably more interested in this than they'll be in any of his matches. So I think it's good for that. And I do think a lot of people like, there's a reason why games where you have to solve puzzles are popular. I think people do dig it.
Well, the last time that I was buzzing and talking and guessing, I'd sat down on a fire ant hill. So anyway, Gunther and Sheamus, they're still wrestling. And again, Gunther looks incredible physically. They had a serious fight. They laid shit in. I like the way Gunther works with anybody. And they even did the chop and forearm trade correctly, where they weren't standing there go, okay, you chop me and then I'm going to chop you on purpose and you're going to stand there and let me do it. They were 1-2-ing with body language and emotion forearms and chops back and forth, boom, boom, boom. And then they went to another break. And they came back. And finally, Sheamus got the 10 broad arms in that Gunther had foiled before. And he actually did the 10 broad arms on each of all 3 ropes. And the people were going nuts. And then Sheamus hit his finish off the second rope, got a 2 count. And Gunther hit a powerbomb, got a 2 count, big pop. And then Gunther hit that splash off the top, another 2 count. And then came the point that I was like, what the fuck happened here? This whole thing's been cooking. They're getting the 2 counts. The people are into it. Sheamus gets a clover leaf. Gunther looks like he's trying to fight to the ropes. And suddenly the referee, the female referee, Jessica, she's right there on it. And suddenly Gunther with his left hand reached out and tapped the mat twice. And the people popped like he's tapping out. And then immediately she's on camera and she waves it off like, no, it's not a tap out. And then here come Imperium and Butch and Ridge Holland, and they get in a big fight at ringside. And while she's distracted, the referee, old Kaiser, slips Gunther the shillelagh, and he comes up and hits a clothesline with the shillelagh on Sheamus and covers him 1, 2, 3. But nobody understood. I don't understand. I can't even figure out what they were trying to do and didn't come across. He tapped out, did he not? What did you think?
Well, he only tapped twice. Technically, any match you've seen end, I started thinking about this. That's how stupid it is. Yeah. Usually you see at least 3 times.
Right.
He only did 2 and then he reached his hand up. Almost like, come on!
In the UFC, sometimes they might go out before they tap the 3rd time, but it's the tapping motion like that. But it
wasn't a choke. It
was almost like he wanted everybody to see it, but I don't know what the red herring was. Why? Because the fans in the arena thought that he had tapped out, and then when she waved it off and said he didn't, the fans started booing.
And now Sheamus can say, I tapped you out, and he could say, no, you didn't.
But he did. It wasn't like he tapped, but the referee was distracted, so he's trying to claim he didn't tap. He tapped, and the referee saw it, but said, no, that's not a tap. But it looked like a tap to the people. If he wasn't tapping, what was he trying to do? This is what I don't understand about this. The rest of the match was great. The finish, except for that particular incident, worked. But I don't know what the fuck they were going for or why that happened. You wouldn't think Gunther would be a guy that would forget where he was and just, reach out and start. I mean, if you watch tapes of matches from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, before tapping out became a thing, when a guy was in a submission hold, he would slap the mat constantly, portraying that he was in pain or in agony. Oh, boy, he's slapping the mat, trying to go to... And nobody thought a thing because there was not a visual tap-out rule in that era. In wrestling, there was no MMA. There wasn't a tap-out in wrestling. It didn't happen. That's a modern MMA development that has crossed over into wrestling. Did he forget he was in a submission hold and it would be taken as a submission if he tapped? I don't fucking know, but that looked out of place and was the only thing I couldn't figure out about this whole fucking match. But there you have that.
Yeah, and that was SmackDown. They gave it a lot of time. Give them that.
Yeah, and it did. The match didn't get old, especially when they kept breaking it up with commercial breaks. So they had time. I'm not arguing with anything about that match except what was that spot, and it took everybody's attention away and was the thing that people were talking about afterwards rather than the finish of the thing, the actual finish. I don't know. But you know what they say, Brian? We'll live to fight another day, and that's what we're going to do. Brian, you know what you should never do to a rabbit, white or otherwise?
What you should never do to a rabbit? I can't even imagine, no.
Don't shave them. Do not shave the little bunny rabbits. I'm telling you, it kills their self-esteem, first of all. Secondly, it takes away a lot of the cuteness of the little bunny. I have a little bunny family living here in the yard, and I see the big parent of the family running around quite often, and it would just look horrible without hair. But you know what doesn't look bad without hair?
What's that?
Guys. Have you not? Guys have hair everywhere. Hair in your nose, hair in your ears, hair in your crotch, hair in your taint, hair around the Hershey Highway, hair springing out of your knuckles, your goddamn kneecaps. There's hair everywhere on the backs of your toes. Well, the tops of your toes, I guess. It would be top and bottom instead of back and front on your... You got hair there, though. Most of you. We're quite a repulsive species, as a matter of fact, when you come to think about it. With all this hair growing out of... You know what happens when you got excessive hair growth?
No, what's that?
That leads at moisture accumulation.
Ah.
And just like when you put a mulch bed around a tree... That's to keep the moisture in to feed the roots of the tree. The problem is the hydraulics and the mechanics and the biology and the crapology of men does not work like that. The more moisture you have around the trunk of the tree, it doesn't make that tree grow any bigger once you reach a certain age of maturity, is what I'm trying to say. So the whole thing is we're a fucking mess. And summer is over now and fall is here. It is time to clean out the clutter. And that's why our friends at Manscaped can help, because they manufacture something to either eliminate or remove the hair or make the hair that you have smell better or make the places that you've removed all that swamp rot clutter smell better and feel better and are slicker. You don't want friction down there either, Brian. You don't really want friction on any part of your body. That can lead to mat burns and things of that. You don't want mat burns on your taint, do you? Have you ever had a mat burn on your taint, Brian?
I don't think I've ever been burnt on my taint, as you put it, no.
Well, it ain't pleasant, I'll tell you that. But folks, at Manscaped, they know what you can do for the fall. It's fresh ball fall, and that's why they've got the Platinum Package 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer, our favorite ever personal grooming product in the history of personal grooming products. They go all the way back, 70 or 80 years now. Boy, can you imagine what a stinky fucking place the Old West was? Try to go to one of those whorehouses in the Old West. Nobody shaved their shit back then. It wasn't until the 70s that we got with the program. So the Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer, the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, where you get all the hair out of your ears so you can stick the Raycon Premium Wireless earbuds in there.
Well, you can't just combine the plugs. What are you doing?
Well, they're friends of ours, too. And then you got to get the hair out of your nose, because that way you can smell bullshit when it's being served up to you, because there's a lot of people in this country whose bullshit detectors have gone south on them, and they don't even know it. Then you could upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Peep Premium Body Wash and the Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner. So it'll make the rough stuff slick. It'll make the stinky stuff smell good. It'll make your knees freeze and your liver quiver. Then the Ultra Premium Deodorant that's aluminum free, or as we say across the pond, aluminium. And they also throw in the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. You always need to tone your balls. Brian, every time you go to the gym, you get on the ball machine, you want to tone those balls up. The Crop Reviver does it without even having to stretch them and put those hooks in. And they'll throw in 2 free gifts to the Platinum Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag, that are both specifically made to hold your goodies. So right now, go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code DRIVE. It ought to be the code SMELL GOOD instead of your stinky ass smelling now, like a man eating Fromunda cheese in a septic tank of a slaughterhouse.
Well, that's quite a long code. How's someone going to do that?
Well, just say the code is Your stinky balls will smell better and not like a man eating fromunda cheese in a septic tank of a slaughterhouse. Who can't remember that?
Who can't spell that?
20%. Well, it's not my fault you're illiterate. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code DRIVE.
And for the record, I'm literate.
Well, I'm a Methodist. That doesn't mean anything.
You're a meth head?
I didn't say that.
That's not what you said?
I went through the program. Anyway, speaking of programs, what are you doing while I'm shaving my crotch? What are you doing over there on the Arcadian Vanguard Network and the Wrestling News?
Oh, another action-packed week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Of course, get information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. A few notes. As you just mentioned, Jim, the Wrestling News. Are you tired of wrestling news with spin, with bias? Guys getting phone calls from, I don't know, let's say Chris Jericho, and then they just repeat what he wants? Are you tired of that? Because some other people are too. We are too.
Was that a question to me? I've been tired of it.
Well, of course, we have a solution, and that is the Wrestling News. Free, daily, morning wrestling newscast with no opinion, no conjecture, no star ratings, just actual wrestling news. Check it out today at thewrestlingnews.com, or of course, access it wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News. And of course, want to mention a couple of other things. The latest Patreon episode of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry is out right now. Patreon.com/Baldwin and Barry. Alan Blackstock returns to the show to speak about UK wrestling history. Check it out once again, patreon.com/Baldwin and Barry, and check out Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! My house guests have no idea what's going on. Go through the archives today at 605pod.com. Available wherever you find your favorite podcast. Won't scream a second time. The Mothership.